Well, that was fast. SHTF escalation is happening now. And we know just in the last week that certain events have occurred that are pushing things into red territory very quickly. So in this video, we're going to discuss how fast these things are happening and what is developing right now that could push us into further problems here in the future. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're going to talk about how fast some of this stuff is happening and why we need to be on the lookout for it all to be coming our way. Things are escalating, and we can see it because right now, just this week, multiple events have occurred that can kind of show you that the state of our country and the perception of our country is leading to things to basically degrade at a quicker rate than maybe we even anticipated. And a lot of things are happening right now that we need to pay attention to because it could cause more and more problems for us here in the future. And while I prepare for everything that's coming our way, why don't you prepare as well? Hit the subscribe button and we'll keep talking about everything that's going on because it's happening so fast, it's kind of hard to keep on top of at times, okay? So one big thing that happened just yesterday, okay? We talked about posturing, we talked about global conflict, we talked about the fact that the leadership we have right now appears weak to our adversaries and they're willing to posture and push the envelope to see what might happen in the sense of what they can get away with. And North Korea just launched 2 small ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan. Now, they were short-range ballistic missiles, and there was no real threat surrounding them, but the fact that they're starting to do more provocative moves in the sense of what they've done in the past with drills and training and everything related to their nuclear program shows that they have less fear than they might have had before, and they're willing to keep pushing that envelope. So expect more and more of this to occur, okay? They are not going to just stop now because the world took a look and said, hey, why are you doing that again? They're going to keep pushing those boundaries and they're going to find out what happens at a certain point, I guess. So that global conflict situation is definitely a possibility. We just talked about this just last week saying, hey, the way we appear right now is going to lead to more of these things occurring. And here we are right now. It's already happening, okay? So we got to keep our eyes open and understand that this is definitely a possibility, okay? Moving on from there. The Biden administration came out, and due to the recent tragic events that occurred, they're now saying flat out, we need to ban assault weapons, which we all know is just some term that's thrown around to cover a wide spectrum of different types of firearms that aren't necessarily even in the category of assault weapons, but that is what they use, and that's how they paint with their brush that broad spectrum of firearms that they want to get rid of. And now they're coming out vocally saying it. We all anticipate an event like what recently occurred to happen and be utilized in the sense of politics to try to push that agenda through. We all knew that gun control was a huge push this year, and we know that if gun control gets too aggressive, it could definitely lead to bigger problems, and we don't want to see anything like that happen in the country. So there is a situation that we have to watch out for in regards to that, and gun control is definitely happening very, very fast. We're seeing some of these events occur that are being utilized immediately to be pushed into a legislation situation, and unfortunately it's just not the way things should be, but it is exactly what's happening. So they want to ban assault weapons and they want to extend the background checks, which they always talk about over and over and over again. But honestly, if the background checks did everything everyone thinks they should do, then there's a good chance that some of these things might never have happened. However, they don't work necessarily the way they're supposed to. So I don't understand the concept behind a lot of this. But either way, this is what they want to do. And just coming out right and saying, hey, we're going to ban assault weapons is definitely something that you need to keep an eye on because that is a big deal, especially for the entire country and the millions and millions of firearms owners who own weapons that are under that category, according to those who utilize that term. It's not going to be an easy transition, so keep that in mind, okay? Now listen, also in regards to gun control, we had the Ninth Circuit Court recently say that openly carrying a firearm in public is not protected by the Second Amendment. And that's due to the Young versus Hawaii situation that's going on over there in the sense of someone wanting to be able to open carry their firearm and the state of Hawaii saying no. Well, the Ninth Circuit Court, which we all know has been a very progressive court in the past and always probably will be, has basically said the Second Amendment doesn't protect your right to openly carry a firearm in public. Now, there's a lot of reasons behind why that's wrong, in my opinion at least, but That's what they're saying. So now we have more court battles ahead of us, and now we have even more reason for more people to be out there saying, yeah, you're right. No one should be allowed to do that. It's the public, and we should respect each other's fears and anxieties. And that's not necessarily how freedom works, but that's how a lot of people feel, and a lot of people are going to utilize that information as another way to push through the things that they believe in that aren't necessarily constitutional. So these things just happen, and we need to watch out for it, okay? Understand that we knew events like what recently happened, regardless of how tragic they are, would occur at some point, because it is the basic sense of when you take the numbers and you look at them as a whole, eventually something's going to occur. If there's infinite possibilities, then that possibility exists, and we know that things like what recently happened will happen again at some point. And it's tragic, and of course we want to stop those things from happening if possible, but the route that's being taken and the political idea behind how they're going to solve that problem is not correct and not going to help those issues now or in the future. But it sounds good, so that's what everyone's going to go for. So we know the agenda is there and it's going to be pushed through. And keep in mind, it was also reported that the firearm that was recently used in this event was a pistol of a certain type, and we can all foresee that becoming an issue, as it has been an issue over and over and over again, thanks to those who are in certain bureaucracies that don't have any actual legal power but like to pretend they do by writing letters. So keep that in mind, because things are escalating. We have the global situation where we have states like North Korea, rogue states, who at this point in time see what's happening in our country and say, I don't really care, shoot them in the ocean, let's see what happens. And we also have situations here in our own country. When you look at what has happened over the last year, and when you look at what this crisis has done to our people as a whole, when it comes to desperation, when it comes to economic hardship, when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to mental health of not being able to be around family or friends or any of your support group due to whatever the government mandated, of course people of certain backgrounds and certain mental situations they may have in place are going to snap at some point, okay? And if you have a mental health background and you have a mental health problem that you're not being able to properly deal with due to the fact that you're not able to see family or see friends or see your support group or go to therapy or whatever it might be due to what has happened during this last year during the pandemic, of course, certain people are going to eventually snap or maybe not be able to control themselves in a situation. And we're seeing more and more of that happening, not just in the sense of what recently happened during the tragic event, but also what's happening to crime around the country, especially in urban areas. Cities are seeing a huge increase in crime, especially when it comes to homicides. I believe Sacramento, the capital of California, had violent crime rise by 26% last year, and a lot of it's due to what has happened in the sense of lockdowns, people losing their jobs, desperation, and everything else related to the crisis. So understand that that stuff's not necessarily going to get better. And when these moratoriums and when the stimulus checks and everything else that's out there run out and people don't have their basic necessities, it's going to keep happening. So it's kind of a perfect storm, and it's very unfortunate, but it is where we are right now as a country. And if you want to look at it as if we're in a state of decline, then that's a reasonable assumption at this point in time. Of course, there's always a way to come back from the negative, but right now we can see that all those things we were concerned about earlier this week in the sense of our perception of weakness and the way that our current leadership wants to take things, especially in regards to gun control, it's all already happening. So be prepared for these things to change quickly. Keep your eyes open, because this is happening very fast. I didn't expect to have to make this video like 3 days later, but here we are. So if you have any questions or you have any comments you want to leave, down below is where you go. There's a lot of great conversation down there, and understand that this is me just trying to keep everybody up to date as to what's happening, okay? We need to keep our eyes out and our ears open, because honestly, if we're not aware of what's going on around the world or around our area or in our country, then it's very easy to get caught off guard when that big SHTF scenario happens. And the escalation's happening now. So, without anything else to say about everything going on right now and how fast this is all happening, that's going to be it for Magic Prep.